Mel Brooks is done playing nice, and the gloves are off. The 98-year-old comedy wizard just fired off a bombshell list, naming the 6 performers who drove him up the wall. It is half roast, half confession, and pure showbiz wildfire. Hollywood thought it knew everything about Mel's sets, but this list proves nobody saw it all. From gag machines who derailed every take to perfectionists who bled the joy out of production, Mel calls them the blessings and curses that shaped his career. But the most shocking part? He dishes the dirt with a grin. The legends on his list are giants. Yet Mel tells us why each one left him both dazzled and drained. 1. Dom DeLuise. Mel adored Dom DeLuise's big heart. Yet directing him felt like wrangling a kitten hopped up on sugar. Dom's fatal flaw was delight. The man could not stop laughing, and every giggle exploded right in the middle of Mel's carefully staged chaos. A single goofy glance on set sent Dom into hysterics before the clapboard even snapped. He'd fall out his chair, cover his face, gasp for air like he just heard the funniest joke on earth. Mel remembers. That sound was magic in the theater, yet murder on a schedule. Lines that should have taken minutes ballooned into marathon sessions. 5 takes, 10 takes, sometimes more. The crew kept rolling while Dom wheezed, clutched his sides, and begged for air. Dom showed up in silent movie, History of the World Part 1, Spaceballs and Robin Hood, Men in Tights, and the pattern never changed. One smirk from Madeline Kahn or Harvey Korman and boom, the scene imploded in laughter. In History of the World, the poor man had a single word to say, but Madeline arched an eyebrow and Dom lost 45 minutes. The cameras idled, extras yawned, and Mel's patience frayed to dust. Desperate, the director plotted new strategies. He tilted cameras away from Dom's eyeline, separated him from other actors, even shot reaction shots first to trick him into calm. Nothing stuck. I couldn't fire him, Mel said, because once we got a clean take, it was comedy gold. And that paradox haunted every production. Off camera, Dom was a walking Italian feast. He hauled in steaming pans of pasta, cracked jokes, and hugged everyone like family. The same warmth that sabotaged shoots also built unbreakable camaraderie, and Mel knew it. He grumbled about wasted film, yet smiled at the memory. I said cut more times with Dom than any other actor, Mel confesses. And half the time he was the reason. The complaint sounds harsh until you catch the twinkle in his eye. Dom's chaos load schedules yet juiced every final frame with raw joy. Mel craved control. Dom unleashed storms of spontaneity. And together they forged unforgettable scenes. Today, when Mel lists the people he hated to direct, Dom rockets to the top, but the word is drenched in affection. It is the playful rage you feel when your best pal hogs a punchline while the cameras roll. Dom destroyed takes, wrecked timelines, and kept the crew over time, yet he pumped life into every reel. Hate and love locked arms, and that passionate clash is exactly why Dom DeLuise earns pride of place on Mel's infamous roster. And just when you think Mel's blood pressure could finally rest, another storm marched onto the soundstage. Enter Madeline Kahn, the dazzling diva with a mind like a razor and a stopwatch tighter than Mel's shooting schedule. Brace yourself, because her brand of trouble felt completely different, yet every bit as explosive. 2. Madeline Kahn. If Dom's crime was contagious laughter, Madeline Kahn's was laser-focused that sliced straight through Mel's easygoing rhythm. She sparkled on screen, yet backstage she turned into a one-woman quality control department. Every syllable, costume thread, and camera angle had to pass her microscopic inspection, and that drove Mel to the brink. She dazzled in Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, and History of the World Part 1, planting catchphrases in pop culture forever. Audiences still recite Lily Von Stupp's breathy drawl or Elizabeth's dramatic shrieks, but few know how many storms erupted before those scenes reached perfection. Madeline arrived late more than once, sashaying on the set as if the clock belonged to her, greeting the crew with a sunny hello that masked the fury brewing inside the director's chair. The moment cameras rolled, magic erupted. Every eyebrow lifted and perfectly timed gas sparked thunderous laughs, and Mel's anger melted for a heartbeat. Then she would ask for a different chair, a softer light, or a rewrite of someone else's line, and the duel restarted. She pushed me too hard, he admits, yet he kept inviting her back, because brilliance like that refuses to stay silent. During Blazing Saddles, she reinvented Lily on the fly. She tested deliveries, swapped words, and even told Mel the piano should be moved 3 feet to the left for better comic rhythm. The crew shuffled props again and again while Mel muttered. Yet when they played the scene back, everyone howled with delight. The pain paid off every time. Young Frankenstein repeated the saga. Madeline, draped in lace as a spoiled fiancée, battled the fog machine, bargained for tighter close-ups, and demanded extra takes until her yes, yes hit the perfect shrill. Mel joked that directing her felt like wrestling a cat in a rainstorm, claws out and spirits high. The scratches healed, but the laugh stayed forever. High anxiety turned her precision into an art form. She challenged lens choices, argued that one shadow on her face killed a bit, then marched off to study playback. Crew members traded wide-eyed glances, while Mel paced holes in the floor. Yet when the final cut rolled, her scenes glimmered like polished jewels. Madeline's confidence stemmed from fierce respect for comedy craft. She knew timing is oxygen for a joke, and she refused to let sloppy details choke the punchline. That stubborn vision clashed with Mel's need for speed. Yet the collision birthed classics. Her strongest power move came in History of the World. She hated a dusty couch her character used in one scene. Mel waved the issue away until she staged a mini protest. The set decorator scrambled for a replacement, and once installed, the frame popped on camera like fireworks. Mel grudgingly admitted she was right again, and the legend of Madeline's unbreakable eye for detail grew larger. Crew gossip painted her as intense, but no one doubted her genius. Between takes, she hummed operatic scales, keeping her voice nimble, then cracked jokes that proved she could clown as fiercely as she could critique. She never used volume to dominate. She used intellect, and that could sting even worse. Actors who coasted got flagged instantly, and that raised everyone's game. Of course, schedules bled, budgets quaked. Mel counted gray hairs. Yet each film benefited from her relentless polish. She never accepted good enough, and the screen rewarded that courage with scenes that still sparkle after half a century. Now, as Mel surveys his life under bright retrospective lights, he labels Madeline one of the 6 collaborators he hated to manage. Gene Hackman. The day Gene Hackman marched onto the Young Frankenstein set thunder cracked through Mel Brooks's carefree playground. 2 titans glared across an invisible fault line, and neither planned to blink. Hackman carried a fresh Oscar and the discipline of a drill sergeant. He lived by perfect timing and strict rehearsal. Mel worshipped speed and messy surprise. Sparks were guaranteed. The blind hermit scene floats on screen like silly magic, yet backstage tension sizzle hotter than the soup Gene spilled. Hackman craved endless run-throughs while Mel hunted wild. First take energy. Every added rehearsal felt like glue on Mel's racing shoes. Between setups, the crew traded jokes. Gene stared at the floor, locked in side character, as if one giggle could shatter his craft. The contrast felt dizzying. Tiny disagreements kept popping like popcorn. Hackman asked for one more slow walk to the table. Then another. Mel groaned that fresh comedy dies when you iron it flat. Gene insisted the camera stay nailed to the storyboard. Mel wanted it free to roam. Their tug-of-war never paused. Yet, when the hermit poured wine and set the monster's finger ablaze, audiences roared for decades. Mel admits the agony paid off big. Still, the pair never teamed again. Hackman enjoyed dipping into farce, yet longed for a kitchen run by exact recipes. Mel threw spices by instinct. Both men left wiser and relieved. Gene Wilder had lured Hackman in as a friendly favor. Mel's jaw dropped at the idea of such a serious star playing in a black and white spoof. But he could not resist. One whirlwind week later, he understood why their worlds rarely touch. Hackman's glare whenever an actor cracked up asked, "Why are we doing this if no one can stay professional?" The words remained silent, but the question echoed down the soundstage. Mel learned a lifelong lesson. Great talent is not a universal plug. Some artists bloom in chaos, others need carved marble walls. Hackman's iron focus electrified one scene, but would have melted an entire shoot. The hermit bit still shines today, proof that friction can forge glittering gold. But what happened next was even more shocking. Cloris Leachman, Cloris Leachman did not enter a room. She stormed it like a sudden storm cloud. Mel called her fearless, yet she turned his hair gray faster than lightning. They crossed paths on Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, and History of the World Part 1. Each film birthed an icon, and each shooting day felt like a marathon debate. Cloris never nodded and moved on. When Mel offered notes, she fired questions like arrows. She dissected every motive, every prop, every eye twitch. Mel later said directing her was like riding a wild stallion that kept inventing new roads. As Frau Blucher, she wanted chilling darkness. Mel wanted quirky warmth. They dueled eyebrow to eyebrow. Some takes leaned into her gloom, and the crew shivered. Other times Mel begged for one silly pass, and the set exploded with laughter. The fight itself sharpened the blade. She drilled each syllable until it carried hidden weight. Mel adored speed, Cloris adored depth, and the clock groaned under their struggle. On High Anxiety, the dance doubled. She saw Nurse Diesel as pure control, while Mel craved manic chaos. Lighting rigs cooled while they traded theories. But once cameras rolled, the screen crackled with power. Crew members whispered that her stare could bend steel. She fixed it on Mel until he surrendered or dug in harder. Either way, the scene won. Offset, they shared polite smiles, yet rarely coffee. Cloris lived inside a maze of ideas, and Mel respected the labyrinth, though it exhausted him. After a day with her, he needed a soft bed and a silent room. During History of the World, she slowed lunch by perfecting a single turn of her cloak. The tailor had worked overnight, adding heavier fabric just for that swirl. Mel mourned the lost hours, yet clapped when the swirl thundered across the floor. She chased truth, not applause. She would have played the part in silence if that served the story. Shortcuts did not exist in her universe. Every take wrung every drop of passion from cast and crew alike. Mel groaned whenever she approached with another inquiry, yet secretly cheered, because her pressure forced him to defend every joke like a lawyer under hot lights. The headaches were real, the results unforgettable. Their bond stayed oddly strong. They did not trade gossip or dinner invites, yet they respected each other like rival champions. Mel never dreaded her arrival. He dreaded the sleepless night that followed, replaying her probing questions on a loop. Richard Pryor. A lightning bolt of comedy nearly lit Blazing Saddles on fire when Mel Brooks dreamed of Richard Pryor in the sheriff's hat. The plan looked perfect, yet danger lurked around every corner. Richard helped write the script, stamping every page with fearless jokes that yanked racism into the spotlight and tore it apart. His ideas felt raw, risky, and wildly funny, the very fuel Mel craved. Mel wrote the hero Bart for Richard, a black lawman who walks into hate and flips it inside out. The studio panicked. They whisper about Richard's wild moods, missed calls, and battles with addiction. With money on the line, they shouted no and demanded a safer choice. Mel fought hard, swearing Richard's wit was the soul of the movie. The bosses stayed rigid, and Richard stepped back with bruised pride. Watching his own lines spoken by another actor stung, yet he kept his head high. Cleveland Little snagged a badge and delivered class, timing, and total control. Still, Mel admits he never stopped wondering what uncaged energy Richard would have spilled across the screen. One glance from those intense eyes could turn calm into dynamite. Writing sessions told the whole story. Some mornings Richard blew in late, spinning genius that cracked the room open with laughter. Other days he vanished, leaving silence and empty coffee cups. Mel said working with him felt like waiting for a thunderstorm. You could not plan it, yet when it arrived, the sky exploded. The writer's room became a circus full of arguments, tears, and roaring applause. Richard's honesty sharpened every gag. He penned lines so bold the crew blinked twice before laughing. Mel calls that bite the reason the film still shocks viewers today. While Mel never doubted Richard's unmatched gift, he also saw the pain crowding behind the brilliance. The comic battled demons that made schedules crumble. Mel needed reliability during the shoot, and the gamble felt too great. Losing Richard in front of the camera remains one of Mel's deepest regrets. The star's face is missing, yet his voice echoes in every outrageous scene. After filming, the two stayed friends, bound by respect for talent that refuses to play by safe rules. But the next clash came from right inside Mel's own home, and it rocked every rehearsal. And Bancroft. Imagine sharing a set with a world-class actress who also knows exactly how you fold your socks. That was Mel trying to direct his wife in Bancroft, the sharpest mind he ever loved. Sparks flew the moment the clapboard snapped. They teamed up on To Be or Not to Be, a daring remake set against war and intrigue. Marriage did not soften their debates one bit. Each scene turned into a duel fought with raised eyebrows and razor-sharp questions, and refused to treat Mel like any ordinary director. If a line sounded hollow, she said so on the spot. If a scene fell off, she paused, crossed her arms, and asked for proof it would work. Mel admits her fearless honesty left him sweating. He once begged for bigger emotion, and she calmly fired back, "What kind of emotion?" then waited in icy silence until he explained. Crew members learned to clear the space as the married pair locked horns, quietly yet fiercely, and demanded depth over easy laughs, while Mel hunted pace and punch. Their tug-of-war delayed takes yet polished every beat. When the camera rolled, her power and grace lifted the entire movie. Even silly lines landed with truth, because she would not let them float by unexamined. Offstage, calm returned. They drove home laughing, shared tea, and left the creative brawl at the door. Mel jokes she was the only performer who could break his confidence with a single well-aimed "really," then rewrite the line in her head and deliver it perfectly. Her relentless push forced Mel to think harder, dig deeper, and sharpen every joke until it gleamed. He calls her the toughest actor he ever faced, and also the most dazzling. Their on-set storm proved that iron can sharpen iron, especially when the iron wears a wedding ring.